scheduled, but that was to be expected. I'd like to introduce to you a full disclosure, a business partner of mine, Scott Hunter from Comparity Insurance.
So I'm Scott Hunter. I'm the president and founder of Comparity, and we simplify insurance shopping. And in the disclosure, Kevin is our chief technology officer, so he's wearing a lot of different hats this morning. But I'm going to talk to you real briefly about what we're doing. We're a startup company here in Virginia Beach. Outstanding. And basically what we are doing is we're connecting insurance shoppers and insurance agents, and we're doing it with technology. The problem in today's insurance marketplace is that consumers have difficulty comparing their options. They either have to call each individual company and supply the same information over and over, or they put their information into what's called a lead aggregator system, where their information, their private information, is sold in the form of a lead, and they start getting harassed to buy policies by multiple agents. If they do actually get to the point where they arrive at quotes, they then have to assimilate this information and try to figure out the apples and oranges that they're comparing and try to figure out what the best policy is. The insurance agents that are trying to reach those individuals are the ones that are buying those leads. It's a really poor investment for them, and they're in a race to the bottom. They're trying to get you the lowest possible rate to compete, and they're calling you all the time. And when they're getting those leads, they're getting incomplete applications. What Comparity's done is simplified that entire process for everybody. The consumer gets a unified application that actually gives them access right now to more than 30 companies. We give them multiple quotes that are ready to buy, and we do it in a side-by-side comparison that makes it really easy to see what your coverage and cost options are. We've added a personal touch that no other company can do. We give you an unbiased navigator that helps you through the process, helps you understand what your policy options are, what coverage you may or may not need. And then when you make that decision to purchase, you're actually connected with a personal insurance agent that serves your needs long term. So who are we really serving? We're serving really three groups of individuals. We're serving the insurance agents that are actually the ones that pay us. And they're embracing our pay-if-you-win model. They don't pay anything to get the leads that we give them unless they write business. They get fully completed applications, and our process allows them to actually write multiple policies, which means that customer stays on their books longer, approximately 7 years. We're going to serve consumers, obviously, the people that really use the insurance products. This is a massive business. There are 176 million drivers and 80 million homeowners in this country that need our product. It's overall a $235 billion a year industry, and it is in dire need of transformation, and that's what we're going to bring to the table. And we're also going to work with referral partners. These are the mortgage lenders, real estate agents, and financial planners that recommend their clients to us. And the reason being is that this streamlines their closings, sometimes in some instances saves their deals. The mortgage lenders have a debt-to-income ratio they have to meet, and getting the best insurance deal helps keep them in that range. And they're important to us because they reach the consumers at a critical buying point when they must purchase insurance for a home transaction. And they're also a source of repeat referrals. So they become our mouthpiece with future customers in an ongoing manner, which allows us to grow exponentially. We have three main competitors in this marketplace, and what you're going to see in the left-hand side is that we dominate them in almost every category. Most of our competitors are offering an auto-only product, and they're giving estimates. We're giving the full range of personal lines, we're giving you actual quotes, and we're protecting your privacy. We're not selling your information to outside parties. Lastly, we always support you with a personal agent. The reason this is important is that 80% of consumers actually compare online, but 65% of them end up purchasing through a person. We're going to win market share by focusing on homes. There's less competition, better opportunity for savings for the consumer, and it's not as costly for us to market and advertise. As you've probably seen, Geico spends about $1 billion a year in advertising auto insurance. We're going to target those referral partners that we spoke about, the realtors and mortgage lenders that actually refer their clients. They become our sales force in essence. We develop key partnerships with companies like Quicken Loans and LendingTree that incorporate this into their model so that you're getting insurance when you get your mortgage. And we use our unique strengths to get free press and engagement on social media. As I mentioned, I'm the founder and president of the company. Kevin is our chief technology officer. We've really divided and conquered. I focus on developing our agency partnerships. Kevin works on building the technology that streamlines and makes the process more efficient. We've been in business for 2 years. In that time, we've served more than 1,000 customers. We've got double the industry average in terms of a closing rate, and we write over $2,100 in premium every time we close a customer. And as you can see, we're really a pre-revenue company. We've put our time and energy into really understanding what the opportunity is and how to best solve the problems for these different partners. But what you can see is that with our technology, with a pretty limited expense, we can develop nice margins. And we only need to capture about 1/10 of 1/100% of the market in order to generate the profits we're looking at long term. And by the way, the employee population that you're looking at, these are professional jobs. They're insurance agents, technology professionals, and salespeople. And so that is Comparity. And I'm open to taking any questions. And
all right, great. Thank you very much. Question right away, so I saw Steve's hand go up.
Thanks, Scott. First thing, is USAA one of the companies you're working with?
They are unfortunately not, because they don't have personal agents.
Okay.
So in our model, we always want to work with companies that have a personal agent support model.
Well, that takes part of the rest of my question, which is how are you going to influence? It sounds like a lot of your model is getting people to change insurance companies,
Sure.
different policies, and I was going to say, how do you get people to move away from USAA?
Well, and actually, we see that quite frequently. In particular, in this market, what we've seen is that insurance is about risk profiles. And so when a company absorbs a certain amount of risk in the market, their rates go up dramatically because they've got too much risk, or they stop writing policies altogether. And when you see opportunities in like a coastal market in particular, there's always a challenge to secure a policy if you live near the water or a high-risk zone. So I would say that we probably, we convert a lot of USAA policyholders in actuality, I mean, very frequently.
Really?
Yes.
Real quick before the next question, just going to
Kevin's mom is an example, actually.
Yeah, yeah, and I got kicked out of USA because of where we live, because of hurricanes. Just real quick, coffee has arrived. It's next door. If you're like me and you're kind of dying here, you need a little coffee. If you could just, during the Q&A, find a little moment. If you're good, sit tight. But let's go ahead and continue with the questions.
Sure. How long is your comparison? So is it an initial? So once you do the purchase, it ends, or is it like a sig fig or a Credit Karma that is a continual? So will it notify you in 3 months when they've got you deal that there is, for your plan policy, that there is a better deal somewhere else?
No, in insurance, really, that isn't a critical need in insurance. Insurance, what we recommend is that you're reviewing your policies every 3 to 4 years to see, or if you've had a dramatic change in rate. And our goal is really a transactional-based process where we're collecting a fee up front and then passing on that long-term revenue opportunity to our partners. So we don't really want to go back to the same people and ask them to compare every single year.
This may be,
Go here and then here. Yeah.
this may be for you. Are you accessing the insurance company's computers through APIs and web services, or how are you getting an actual quote?
Yeah, that would be a dream world.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprising to me as I came from outside of this area that the big players in this are still using really old like mainframe systems. I literally got a dot matrix printout from one of them before. So because it's our transaction with the insurance agent, so we're automating as much of the collection, sending it to them, and
So a real person, meaning an agent, fills in the quote.
yeah, and so they have to put that into their
They
underwriting
and
system.
then they return it back to you, and you return it to the
And
customer.
everywhere that we can take out a data input that's in our control,
Right.
we do.
And this actually to give you an idea, did you share the roll down?
Oh, yeah, the detail? No, I don't think I did. All right, more questions, right here.
So I call in, I'm a potential client, I call into your intermediary, and what is it that he or she does that's different from my online web search? And what are their expertise that they're bringing to the table? You know, and I live in Florida, or I live in California, or Illinois, how is that different?
Sure. So first and foremost, we're giving you an unbiased licensed agent that's walking you through, like, depending on the age of the house, do you need to have ordinance and law coverage, or should you have water sewer backup coverage, and at what rate? And the beauty there is that when we collect that information and send it, now our partners are being required to quote on that exact number. So you're getting true apples to apples coverage, and they're mandated to follow that. And then once you've actually gotten the quotes back, you have that individual walking you through, showing that perhaps in this example, Lloyd's has a great policy rate, but they're a surplus lines provider. So they're a little bit of a lesser provider than a Nationwide who has the protection of a state guarantee fund. And those are the types of things that we're assisting our customers in terms of understanding.
I think we had a couple in the back.
Sure.
Then, yep. Go here, gentlemen. Code?
How do you, how is your fee based when you charge these insurance companies up front?
14% of the total annual premium. So what that in essence is their first year commission. And they're paying that fully to us. They're not going to make any money year one, but they're keeping that policy over the next 6-7 years.
So then I guess how do you ensure that you're independent when you're selling these policies? Because it would behoove you to jack up and have your
Sure.
insurance policy, right?
Obviously, yes, but the customer, it's sort of an open disclosure of what the rates are, and we're very open with our customers that we're paid the same rate across the board in terms of percentage. We really want the customer to get the right idea, the right price. It may not always be the lowest price, but without doing a percentage-based model, we couldn't give impartiality in terms of the providers and what they were offering.
Chuck?
Based on your earlier information on APIs and having a person in the middle somewhere, how long does it take for a turnaround on those estimates as far as the
Sure.
premiums and whatnot?
Today, it takes us 24 hours. As we raise funds and get our technology in place, that will be down to 2 to 3 hours. And there'll actually be a clock for our insurance agents to return quotes within 1 hour. So we've automated the process completely. What we have seen is that I think there's a lot of movement towards like this immediacy of getting an estimate. And what people don't realize is in those models, you actually then have to start the application process over again. So compare.com, for example, once you see your estimate, you click on that and it sends you to a new site to actually start the application process to get the actual quote. We've not had any objections from our customers about the 24 hours it takes us to turn this around. So we think when we get to 2 to 3 hours, they'll be ecstatic.
Yes, ma'am.
Where is the application data stored, and what happens to the sensitive personal information in light of privacy?
Yeah, so it's in our cloud server on the Modulus website. It's a hosted website, and we scrub out all of the, you have to have your driver's license and your social security number in order to get a quote. And actually what's happening is that's probably being passed around in a lot of emails every day today. And so we get in our system, we hand it off, we get rid of it.
Okay, and also, how do we know healthcare information won't be sold to third parties?
Well,
Yeah, so we don't actually offer a health insurance product today.
Okay.
And so there's no information about your medical history or anything like that. In the future, we will probably offer a life insurance product, and that information will be guarded in the same way.
Thank you.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Your most critical ramp appears to be hiring salespeople. What sort of prior experience are you looking for, and how are you training them up?
Sure. So from a salesperson perspective, we really have two salespeople. We have what we consider our outside sales force that will be engaging with the realtors and mortgage lenders. And the nice thing about their job is Our service is free. It's not that you're not selling anything, you're just educating people about how this can make it easier for their clients to shop during a closing process. And we'll have those salespeople in the top home sales growth markets around the country. And that will also overlap with the areas that have the highest opportunity for premium. So markets like Texas, California, Denver. The inside sales agent is really a traditional insurance agent. And the beauty in their model is that they're also not really selling. What happens is when you present this to a customer, and this was a real life quote actually, where we saved, it was a realtor that did it for her own policies, and she ended up saving $1,400 a year, and more importantly, we lowered her hurricane deductible from $17,000 to $3,000. So it was a big win for her. When somebody sees this, we really find that what's happening is we're just giving them guidance. We're not forcing anything on them. We're simply saying, we think this is probably the best option for you. If you're interested in moving forward, we can go ahead and put you in touch with the agents. So it's a really soft close that they really need to know insurance, not how to sell. And in terms of insurance training, that's a really relatively easy process for us in terms of training new individuals for that. I hope that answered your question.
So good. Chuck?
I have a challenge question for you. What happens when an insurance company decides to do kind of like a Geico thing where they do the comparison for their customers?
So again, that's a great question, and what I hear all the time is, isn't Progressive doing this?
Oh, you're Progressive.
And what Progressive is doing is they're using, each company files with the state an estimated range for a group of individuals. Like a male, age 40 to 49 should be paying X under nationwide. Their system simply scrubs that filing to give you an idea. So they're not providing actual quotes. In addition, there's obviously a bias. Progressive telling me what nationwide is probably going to charge me isn't really a fair comparison.
Yes, ma'am. We got time for a couple more questions.
How do you differentiate from an independent insurance agent that can also, access to multiple insurance companies?
Sure. Again, well, first and foremost, the lack of bias. So an independent agent is really trying to sell you on their policy, and they're going to recommend potentially carriers that have a higher commission rate for them. They're going to upsell you on coverages that you may or may not need. And maybe most importantly, these companies, Nationwide, Farmers, Allstate, that are captive agencies, they don't have any access to. And those companies often have the biggest discounts for combined policies like home, auto, umbrella. So that lack of opportunity, and by the way, those companies I just mentioned, captive agencies represent more than 51% of market share, and the independent has no access to them.
So, sir, I guess you get a unique position where you see a customer from the beginning to the end, whereas a lot of the big insurance companies only see the end product. What are you going to do with all that data? I mean, eventually you can start to model for truth to see if there is like a baseline that you can see if one or the other. I mean, right now you're very in the beginning, but if you were to get your projections, you could represent quite a few people and have bias towards different companies based on your model. Would you use that data to predict future for your company, or would you sell that?
We haven't addressed how we will use it. We do know a couple of things. First of all, in insurance, the amount of data that we collect is massive. When you look at a homeowner's insurance application, yeah, and we're already collecting this information. It's the age of your home, the age of your roof, the age of your HVAC equipment, the type of HVAC equipment. And all of this could lead to potential opportunities to either compare other services or to use it as a data analytics tool for insurance companies to now show which agents are closing at the best rate, what policies are performing in what markets, to help them adjust their pricing. This will be the first opportunity that those companies, in some instances like a Nationwide, will have the ability to see how they're competing side by side with other providers.
But what about, the age of the house, and that? Will you sell to a contractor to tell that there's areas that need
Our
construction?
goal is to always maintain the customer's information and not sell it to third parties. And so we would simply be in a situation where we would be asking you down the road if you wanted assistance doing something, and we would always keep that in-house. I mean, that's one of our.
The best we could say is, there are X percentages of homes in this zip code that need a roof, but we would never give up the personal information for someone to say, I want to come sell you a roof. We'd never get down to that level of specificity.
But an aggregate of a zip code, you'll never use that data for anything other than insurance.
Well, not necessarily, but what we would see is a similar type comparison model where a consumer could come back to us, and that would be the repeat engagement to say, I would like to get a comparison for a new roof. And we already have the information to then be able to provide them those options in the same private way that we've done with insurance. And when I say privacy, when we send this information to the insurance companies, the insurance agents don't have any of the contact information for that customer unless the client purchases a policy from them.
You ship 5. How do you pick the 5? And do you have a wait list? What's your system?
So we will probably always try to keep it down to around 4 or 5 options, and the reason being is that it gets confusing to the customer when you have more than that. Most insurance customers in the studies we've looked at compare somewhere between 3 and 5 quotes, and so if we've given them the 5, we find that they tend to purchase through us, unless there's a hole in the offering that we're providing, like a USAA member that wants to compare against their existing policy. What we will probably do is take the top 5 options that are returned back, and there will definitely be, when our agents look at submitting quotes, they'll have protected rights for territories.
And they're under a criteria that self-filter who could quote on that policy. So like, if you have an aggressive breed dog, it would take out a certain insurance company if you have a pool with a diving board. So there's some sort of self-filtering that happens that like eliminates like 5 of them, say, just off the bat.
And that's another big selling point for the insurance companies because it's added a layer of underwriting to the process, thereby making sure their agents don't make mistakes and missing something in the data that would disqualify the customer.
All right, I'm going to cut it off there. Thanks very much.
Kevin, is there, this is a general question, it's asked out there, is there anything that you would like from, other than buying policies, from the community here? That's what we ask every presenter.
Thank you.
To give that statement, you know, to ask a question for any help or anything you would need.
Sure, we're anticipating growth, and so we would love to talk to insurance agents, to realtors that could send their clients, or to individuals who are going to be looking for employment. And we're going to obviously have a number of positions that will be opening up in the next year. So anything you can do to help us, we're entrepreneurs, we're not afraid to beg.
Like IT specialists?
I'm sorry?
Like IT specialists?
Absolutely. We'll have a team of, I believe, Kevin will have to correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 developers.
Okay, great.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're going to switch over. Maggie's got a couple questions for you. I'm going to pull up the next presentation.
Real quick question. I know it's a little warm and the coffee wasn't ready when you got here. We will be working on these issues. We didn't anticipate such a large turnout. We really appreciate this. This says a lot about the community. Just by a quick show of hands, who anticipates presenting within the next 6 months?
Here,